over the last year and a half, I've only aged by 4 months. I know it may not look like it right now because I have a roadmap on top of my head, but I have noticed over time that the wrinkles on my face have actually diminished.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Aging with Dr. Doctor. I'm Dr. Sanova Peza Doctor, your host for this show, and I'm sure you're as excited as I am to have our next guest because what he has done very few people can. He reversed his biological age by 9 years, and he corrects me later on because now he has reversed his age by 10 years, and he did this all in his 50s. You heard that right. Imagine being able to reverse your clock and feel younger again. I want you to meet Jared Taylor. He's not only a devoted husband, a father, a certified keto and intermittent fasting coach, but he's also an ultra marathon runner and a fitness, nutrition and longevity enthusiast. He lives in Gilbert, Arizona with his wife of 30 plus years and 3 children. He loves the outdoors, especially the Grand Canyon, which he has hiked numerous times. I'm really eager to know, how did Jared manage to reverse his biological age in his 50s? Let's find out.
Actually, you know what? The cool thing is I had a recent blood test, and now I can say that I reversed my age by 10 years. And the first blood test was actually a year and a half ago. So my first age was, I was 51 at the time, and the results came back, I was 42.3 years old biologically. This last time, a year and a half later, I did the blood test, and it came back, the results were 42.7. And so now I'm 52, I'll be 53 in next month, actually. Wow. And so I did the math, and it looks like over the last year and a half, I've only aged by 4 months biologically, according to their test. So that was pretty exciting and a little bit surprising to me. And to answer your question, how were you able to do that? I don't think anyone's going to like the answer because it's not really magical. It's going to sound like, oh, really? It might be a letdown, but simply diet and exercise. Right? There's no secret magical formula. I think though, if I want to maybe get into the details of specifically what I did, for me, it was the keto diet and the exercise that I was doing very specifically for several years was focusing on endurance running and endurance hiking. You mentioned the Grand Canyon earlier. It's been a goal of mine to do the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim in a specific time. And I was working really hard to be able to do that. And so the exercise that I was doing specifically was a significant amount of running, trail running, and then also hiking up hills. And those two things together had a dramatic impact in my life, completely changed my life. I lost a lot of weight, fitness level increased. I thought to do the blood test because I read a book. I read David Sinclair's book, Lifespan, and it was just really interesting. I thought, hey, I'm going to go do my biological age and see where I'm at. And it was surprising to see at the time 9 years. And now 10 years and aging slower, I think, than I was previously.
Jared has numerous feathers to his cap, one of them being he has run the Grand Canyon 5 times. It's embarrassing to admit, but I can't even run after my son without getting out of breath. Let's learn, how did Jared prepare for it and how did he achieve this milestone?
In 2014, a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, we're going to do the Grand Canyon. You want to go? And I said, yeah, that sounds fun.
Were you a runner then?
No, I wasn't. I was overweight and I was in okay shape, and but overweight. And at first I was really interested. I was, oh, that sounds fun. I've never been to the Grand Canyon. I've lived in Arizona for 17 years and had never gone to the Grand Canyon. Isn't that crazy? Well, he says, yeah, we're going to do it in 24 hours. And then I was like, no. Look, what are you thinking? That's crazy. Because I said, isn't that about 50 miles? It's not exact. It's not 50 miles, but it's very close. And you're going down and you're going up and it's this long distance. And I had been a Boy Scout leader. And whenever we planned a 50-mile hike, if we were going to do one, it was 5 days, right? 5 days. In 4 days, if you're really good. Now, granted, you have boys with you, it's going to take longer, depending on their age, right? I usually worked with the older boys from 14 to 16, and they can be really fast. But we wouldn't plan to do it in 24 hours. That would be crazy. And their parents would really be mad at us because they would think we were putting them in harm's way. So here's this guy saying, yeah, we're going to do it in 24 hours. And I was like, no, that's crazy. I was like, he does not even comprehend what he's suggesting, right? So, well, we had several mutual friends, and he was going to all of our friends and inviting them to go. And one by one, they're like, oh yeah, these guys they just don't know what they're agreeing to, right? And one of my friends, he says, I asked him one day, are you going to go? And he's like, yeah. I go, really? He goes, it's just hiking. It's like, okay, well, I can't not go now. And I'm feeling like I'm kind of wimpy, right? And so I decided to go, and I prepared for it. I thought I prepared for it. We went, and I wasn't able to do it. So I went, and it took 12 hours to get to the other side, which is a considerable amount of time. And here I am, it's 1:00 in the morning, and our group is spread out. We are so spread out. I'm by myself hiking up the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and I had this little headlamp that didn't work very well. And so it's just barely illuminating just a little bit of a spot just in front of me. I could not see how far I had to go, which was actually a blessing, because if I saw that, I wouldn't have been able to handle it mentally. But it's middle of the night, early in the morning, 1:00 in the morning, and I hurt all over. My knee hurts, my back hurts, everything. I feel achy, and I'm thinking, why in the world did I ever agree to do this? Right? What? And then I started thinking, I'm too old for this. And I started having these thoughts like, oh, you were crazy. Well, you were right to begin with. You never should have done this. And then I started thinking, you're too old to do this. You should just forget about doing these kinds of things. Right? And this actually was a very pivotal moment in my life. As I'm going up there, feeling bad for myself and feeling like all I wanted to do was quit, but there's no way. You can't just stop on the trail in the middle of the night. The only way you're getting out of there is to get yourself out of there. Maybe the next day, someone could come, but what are they going to do? Put you on a donkey? Maybe. And barely, I got to the top. I don't remember what time it was at the top. And there were several of us that decided, okay, that's as far as we're going to go. And I thought, I'm never, ever going to do anything like that again. Right? But as we left, there were 3 people in that group. No, I'm sorry. There were 5 people in that group. I think the group was a total of 16 people, if I remember correctly. Only 5 people made it. And I was thinking, well, what was wrong with me? How come I couldn't be one of those 5? And over the days, several days after that, I thought, I just couldn't get out of my mind. So 2 years later, 2017, I decided to go back. And so the why was because I failed to do it. The why was my friend said, hey, you want to go? And I told you what got me there. But that changed over time. It became, here's this limitation, and I could either accept that I'm getting older, I'm slowing down, and I can't hope to do these kinds of things anymore. And it's very depressing, right? Or I could say, I think I can do it if I prepare enough. And a couple years later, I went to that same friend and said, hey, I want to go back. We got a group together, and it just turned out that he was one that made it, amazingly. And 2 of the people that were sort of guiding that group were these adventure runners. They've done these adventure races, 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, all over the world. And they were personally coaching him and helping him prepare and telling him what to do. And so they were 2 of the 5. He was the other one. And then another friend of ours made it. Anyways, I went back to them and said, I want to go. And then I prepared a little bit differently. That year, I did a lot more hiking and a lot more running and building up my fitness level, my cardiovascular fitness level. And then I was able to do it. That was number 1. And I was able to do it in 20 hours, 38 minutes. I was like, yes, I did it. Now I'm able to, I don't have to feel like a loser from the first time. But then I left there that day thinking, I think I can go faster, right? And then that led to going back again in 2018, training differently. And I'll see if I can't shorten this up a little bit. So in 2018, I thought that what I needed to do, because it was so far, is I needed to do lots and lots of miles, lots and lots of miles. And that's not wrong, but the Grand Canyon is so rugged and it's literally uphill both ways. So you're going downhill, and despite what people might think, going downhill over very rugged terrain, several miles, it beats you up a lot. And then you have to go uphill 6,000 feet of elevation gain. Then you come back down, and then you go up another almost 5,000 feet of elevation on the way back up. The reason I've done it so many times is because I wanted to do it in 16 hours. The first goal was to do it in 24 hours, and I wasn't able to do it at all. I came back and was able to do it in 20 hours. But I had a conversation with those adventure runners and saying, we can do this in 22 hours. We can do this in 20 hours. And I kept talking about it. They're like, and then I just happened to say, we can do this in 16 hours. I was like, now you're kidding yourself. They were right. They were right. But I was naive enough and stubborn enough to say, I'm going to prove them wrong. And it took me 5 years, I think is actually a little more than that over time. But what I learned was that it's the going uphill and going downhill that matters the most. So now when I train to go to the Grand Canyon, there's a hill that they call it a mountain here. It's not that high, but it's not that far from my house. And I've learned that if I go there and I gradually build up over time to where I've done 3 or 4 or 5 workouts of 6,000 feet elevation gain, regardless of how many miles it is, right? And you build up to that, then it puts me in shape to the Grand Canyon. So long story short, you're asking me something that I'm very, very passionate about, and it's been a massive influence in my life.
If you wish to get started on this journey of feeling youthful, being full of energy, being able to chase your dreams, and not letting age or illness come in the way, you can start by subscribing to the channel, of course. My sole purpose is to help you live your best life. And in the meantime, I asked Jared if there are some books or certain resources that he can recommend that can help you start your longevity journey.
If we're talking about longevity, there are 3 books that I love, and then I'll give you the top, my number 1 pick out of those 3. So Lifespan by Dr. David Sinclair. It's a wonderful introduction to the topic of longevity. It's the first book that I read on longevity, and it just blew my mind. It's amazing. The other 2 books, one is by Dr. Mark Hyman. He's an MD, and his book is called Young Forever. And the last one would be Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia. He's also an MD. That book is extremely interesting. So those 3 books, read them all. But if you had to pick just one, to me, it's Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia.
Knowing what you know now, JT, what advice will you give your 18-year-old self?
So if I'm speaking to my... Sorry.
I'm sorry.
If I'm speaking to my younger self, I would say don't hold back. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of being yourself. That sounds very cliche and very trite, but I think it's really real, especially now. We see more instances of depression at a younger age and anxiety. And I did struggle with that at a young age. I was 14 when I first started to feel a significant depression. And it was bewildering. I didn't really understand what it was, what was happening. But that's a whole nother story. But I would say don't be afraid to be you. And don't be afraid to let people see the real you. And you know what? Not everyone's going to like you. And that's okay. As long as you like yourself. And as long as you love yourself, then you'll be a lot happier. And if those people don't like you, that's okay. You don't need them. Right? And I would say just go for it. Don't hold back.
You should know that Jared has a wonderful YouTube channel where he shares some amazing information about keto, his life experiences, and I highly recommend checking it out and subscribing to it. But I know the secret behind Jared's success is not only nutrition and lifestyle changes, because believe it or not, we live in a world where we need that extra added support. So let's take a quick recap of what Jared is currently taking to maintain optimal health.
And we want this magic fix. We want one little pill or some little powder that's going to, make me lose 60 pounds and give me the energy of a, 16-year-old, and I'm going to look like I'm 20 again. And all these things, magic things are going to happen just from this one thing. But I have come to this realization that supplements are really part of my nutrition plan. So first on my list is NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, because the first time I started taking it, I just started taking it, and I have to tell you, I felt amazing right away. I started feeling energy. Over a few weeks or so, that energy sort of tapered off, but oh man, I felt different, and I felt like it was helping it with my exercise efforts and all the training and everything. TMG is the next one. Trimethylglycine is what TMG stands for. It helps with recovery. It helps with, supporting vital organs like the liver and the heart. And it's been very popular in bodybuilding community because it helps with exercise recovery. I think I mentioned that. Okay, so we're on to fish oil. Omega-3 fish oil. It's good for the brain. It's good for the eyes. It's good for the immune system. And study after study after study, it even helps to slow down the loss of muscle mass, which is crazy. There's so many different things that omega-3 fish oils are good for. That's part of my foundational sort of supplement stack. The next on my list is Glynac. And the reason I take Glynac is to improve glutathione levels, because as we age, glutathione goes down. And Glynac, there's a lot of research around it showing that it does help to improve glutathione levels. Creatine is next on my list. It used to be that creatine was strongly associated with bodybuilding, and or sports and fitness. And really, that was the only reason to take creatine. And what we're finding in the research is showing that it's incredibly beneficial for anybody. And I recently did some research on the safety of creatine, showing that it's safe even for young kids to take, and which is amazing. The benefits for creatine are insane. I never would have thought it could help lower cholesterol and specifically triglyceride levels. It helps reduce fat accumulation in the liver. So if someone has a fatty liver, creatine might help, right? Reduce homocysteine levels. The list goes on and on and on the benefits of creatine, particularly as we get older. Aside from helping us retain or even build muscle mass, which is extremely important as we get older. The next on my list, you're going to love this one, collagen. Collagen, I have to tell you, I'll confess, I was just looking one day I was thinking about taking collagen. I'd heard that it could help with your joints, and I said, that sounds good. I'm doing all this running. I've been taking every day now, going on 3 years. Wow. Right? Not quite 3 years yet, but I'm in my third year of taking it every single day. I did notice improvements. I noticed that at long runs on a trail, after several miles, things just can start to hurt, especially when it's rocky trail and everything. And I noticed that after taking collagen that certain times, certain distances on, 12 miles or so, or 14, 15 miles or so, when my knees might start to complain, that wasn't happening. It wasn't happening anymore. I was like, oh, why is that? I realized the one thing that I changed was to taking collagen. And I know it may not look like it right now because I have a roadmap on top of my head, but I have noticed over time that the wrinkles on my face have actually diminished. I cannot deny that the collagen has been beneficial. It is absolutely, I am absolutely 100% convinced that collagen has made a difference. And the next one goes along with that, and that would be hyaluronic acid. It's so funny because I went to my wife and I said, hey, have you ever heard of hyaluronic acid? And she looks at me and she's like, every woman has heard of hyaluronic acid. I was like, oh, okay. Well, have you ever heard of taking it as a supplement? And she went, no. And you do the research, at least what I've found, you're the expert, you can correct me if I'm wrong. What I found that actually ingesting hyaluronic acid can be very beneficial. So we go on to the next one. The next one is whey protein. And I'm taking whey protein simply because it's a form of amino acids that you can get. It's highly absorbable. And I'm right now trying to gain more muscle. And it's hard to get enough protein to do that. So I turn to a supplement to help. The next one is a product called Element, which is basically an electrolyte mix. Very helpful, makes you feel great. And then I also use them when I do really long runs or if I'm doing a lot of training, especially if it's hot outside and you're sweating a lot. And then the next on the list is vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium, specifically magnesium glycinate.
Alrighty, now we reach the fun part, rapid fire with Dr. Doctor. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead,
Alright.
rapid fire.
What's your hidden talent?
Okay, my hidden talent. Well, I'm pretty good at art. I can draw pretty well. I don't know if that's hidden, but I haven't really told anybody on YouTube. I haven't told the masses. I'm pretty good at that.
Now everyone knows. If you had to choose between being blind, deaf, or dumb, which one would you choose and why?
Let's see. Well, I'm already dumb, so I have to pick one of the other two. Oh man, that's a hard one. I think, let's like my sight. I think I would choose losing my hearing if I had to choose. Probably that one.
How long do you think you will live up to?
How long will I live? You know what? I don't know. And I honestly don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. I'm ready to die at any time. Like I'm not afraid to die. And I don't have a goal to live like 100 or 120 or a lot of these longevity people talk about that. I just want to live well. I want to live well every day that I'm breathing.
But if you had to pick a number?
If I pick a number, the number that popped in my head was 68, but I don't know if my wife would like that. She'd probably want it to be higher. So let's go with an even 90. As long as I can still do the Grand Canyon, I'll be happy.
Yay, of course. If you didn't have to sleep, what would you do with that extra time?
Oh, wow. Oh, I would probably make more videos.
What was your last search on Google?
What was my last search on Google? I mean, I could pull up the search history. I think I was looking up I think it was the benefits of taurine.
What's the first career you dreamt of having as a kid?
The first career was stuntman. I wanted to be a stuntman, and I did a lot of stunts and hurt myself a lot when I was a kid because trying to be a stuntman.
If past lives are real, what was yours?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh, I was probably a monkey because I like climbing. I used to do a lot of rock climbing when I was a kid. I'd climbed in the trees a lot. I was probably a monkey.
And this segment is called This or That. You need to choose either one.
Ooh,
Okay?
wow. Okay.
The mind or the gut?
Wow. This is a hard. These are hard. I'll go with the mind.
Save 100 strangers or one loved one?
Save 100 strangers or one loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know how to make hard questions. Oh, this is really. Oh, I don't even know if I want.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, I'd probably save the 100.
Oh, it's okay. You can choose both. Oh, Jared, you're
I can
too
choose
kind and
both.
sweet.
I would save them both.
No, I don't want to see you so sad. You don't. You are so kind, and you are so kind.
I'm just, for a moment there, I was thinking that would be so hard, but I feel like, and all these people have families and all this stuff, and I say that now, but I think that'd probably have to be my choice, even though I wouldn't want to do it.
Okay, the next one should be easy. Broccoli pasta or steak?
Oh man, that's not as easy as I've done I haven't had a lot of pasta for the last 5 years, so I can go without pasta.
Okay.
But now I eat broccoli a lot. Like not every day, but several times a week. I'm gonna go with steak. I love a good steak. Ribeye, T-bone on the grill. Oh yeah, that's what I would go with.
Logic or emotion?
Emotion, 100%.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Embarrassed. I would choose that over being afraid every day.
Win the lottery or land your dream job?
Land my dream job 100%. Because then that's like winning the lottery. And you can, if you're doing what you enjoy and if you're going to be happy, I mean, to me, that's worth more than the lottery. Of course, winning the lottery could be pretty exciting too. I would go with dream job because I can make the money that I need.
Sunset or sunrise?
Oh, I love them both, but I'm going to go with sunrise.
And live until 100 with a chronic disease or die at 60?
60.
I think I knew the answer.
Right away. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this enlightening conversation with Jared. Thank you once again to all our expert speakers who take so much time and effort to share their knowledge with us. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a comment below. We love reading them, and share it with a friend or family who you think might benefit from all the information. Continue to glow, thrive and shine as always. Take care. I'll see you soon.